Fouchi. We don't know whether the pandemic started in a lab in Wuhan or evolved naturally, but we should want to know. To arrive at the truth, the U.S. government should admit that the Wuhan Virology Institute was experimenting to enhance the coronavirus's ability to infect humans. For years, Dr. Ralph Barek, a virologist in the U.S., has been collaborating with Dr. Shi Zhengli of the Wuhan Virology Institute, sharing his discoveries about how to create superviruses. This gain-of-function research has been funded by the NIH.
The NIH and NIAID categorically has not funded gain-of-function research to be conducted in the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
You do support it in the U.S. We have 11 labs doing it, and you have allowed it here. You're fooling with Mother Nature here. You're allowing superviruses to be created.
Let me remind you, the man in charge of the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, during this entire pandemic had this to say when he was finally free to say it.
I am of the point of view that I still think the most likely etiology of this pathogen in Wuhan was from a laboratory, escaped. Other people don't believe that. That's fine. Science will eventually figure it out.
The evidence all shows that this is a man-made virus. I've shared with you even the patent, the international patent that Ralph Barek got for gain-of-function research on the spike protein that's paid for, that's it, by NIH. Barek and Shang Li and Peter Dayzek admit to working together, and they got money from the Department of Defense and from National Institutes of Health, the National Institutes of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and multiple government agencies, and the DOD even provided Peter Franz as an advisor for Dayzek at EcoHealth to help them figure out what to do with this virus. Despite all of that evidence, there's nothing better than just simply looking at the patent that says we are modifying a spike protein.
Coronaviruses are pretty good. I mean, you're a virologist, you know all this stuff, but you can manipulate them in the lab pretty easily. It's just spike protein drives a lot of what happens with the coronavirus, zoonotic risk. So you can get the sequence, you can build the protein, and we work with Ralph Barek at UNC to do this. Insert it into a backbone of another virus, and do some work in the labs.
If you actually read the research and you go to the supplemental parts of it, they did more than that. They changed five nucleotides in addition to taking the spike protein of one virus and the backbone of another. And those five, the fifth one had to do with the envelope. And we know that the envelope has a great deal to do with this virus being able to infect the brain of people in addition to the spike protein.
Let's just look at a couple of these articles. The NIH National Library of Medicine, angiotensin-converting enzyme 2, ACE2 proteins of different bat species confer variable susceptibility to SARS-CoV entry. Lab-made coronavirus triggers debate. The creation of a chimeric SARS-like virus has scientists discussing the risk of gain-of-function research. Barek to lead 10 million NIH grant. The SARS-like cluster of circulating bat coronaviruses in nature shows potential for human emergence. Again, Zhang Li and Ralph S. Barek, China and America coming together. Research in this manuscript was supported by grants. Look at this. Grants from who? The National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, NIAID, exactly where Fouchi is in charge, funding from EcoHealth Alliance. So we see this connection between the two.
In 2015, they came out and they announced that they could produce a more virulent pathogenic virus that would produce a pandemic. And yet they were still allowed to move forward on that.
We see Dr. Ralph Barek, or I don't know if he's a doctor, but Ralph Barek, bragging about his talent to do this.
Avete dato al virus una marcia in più? Lo avete potenziato?
The only gain of function that occurred in that virus is that we changed its antigenicity. And what that data tells you is that any vaccine or antibody that you'd made against the original virus from 2003 wasn't going to protect the public against this new virus if it should emerge in the future.
Se guardassimo il genoma della vostra chimera capiremmo che era stata fatta in laboratorio?
Anything that we build in the laboratory has what are called signature mutations. It's like a little it's where you signed your name almost. It says, you put in these mutations and it says this was built from material in the Barek laboratory.
Ma se non vuoi lasciare questa firma, puoi costruire in laboratorio un virus indistinguibile da uno naturale, giusto?
It is correct. You can do it without leaving a signature, yes. We're using any of the 3 or 4 different approaches for coronaviruses that were developed by different researchers. You can leave no trace that it was made in a laboratory.
Notice the first thing he says. The only gain of function that changed was the antigenicity. That is gain of function.
Right.
The antigen is the spike protein.
It really is outrageous.
Anthony Fouchi committed perjury.
Right, for a reason. Let's remember, for a reason. He's not just up there making a mistake. He is deciding that my best path forward is to perjure myself and basically go with the denial defense, which we see basically from every mob boss that's ever been on trial.